What is happening in accounting? Is AI just going to displace all accountants and we don't need accountants anymore?
I don't necessarily believe AI is going to disrupt us as big as people think. I think it's going to disrupt people who don't want to change.
We've seen 17% of layoffs this year attributed to AI. Are there going to be tax ramifications for companies that do layoffs related to AI?
They're going to pay less payroll tax. They're going to have more margin. So they're going to have a higher or larger tax bill, at least estimated at this point.
We just saw this at UCF this past week. Valedictorian was giving a speech about how AI was the future and everyone started booing her.
The rise of artificial intelligence is the next industrial revolution.
We have an extremely large amount of people that are completely anti-AI. How do we go into the next AI revolution?
We're founded on capitalism. That's just the way of the game. We're not going to change the model of our country just because people don't want to advance their skill set.
If I'm a business owner, what is the biggest mistake I can make leveraging AI for my accounting and bookkeeping?
The biggest mistake is
All right, boys and girls, we have David Perez in the house, founder of Tax. Is that right? Can I roll the R?
Yeah, I like that. That was good, dude. Go on. I'm sorry.
I come from South Florida, you know what I mean? So I got a little juice on it. All right, let me hit it again.
No, you can do it. No, keep it. That was fun. Go with it. Just go with it. It's cool. I think everybody's watching it. They're probably going to get a kick out of this.
All right, boys and girls, we have David Perez in the house. He's the founder of TaxMaverick.ai and also the owner of TaxPlanExperts.com. If anyone knows how to save money on taxes, David is that dude. In fact, TaxMaverick.ai, as a community of accountants, they've saved their clients over $1 billion last year, which to me is some money I'd like to put in my pocket, take my wife on a cruise. Anyway, David, thanks for joining the show today.
Hey, thank you for having me, man. I appreciate you.
Yeah, the pleasure is all mine. David, the thing that's most fascinating to me about this time that we are in is layoffs and disruption to industry. And it's kind of why I'm glad to have you on, because you are really at the cutting edge of this stuff. Intuit just this week fired over 3,000 people. They announced they're laying off 17% of their staff. What is happening in accounting? Is AI just going to displace all accountants and we don't need accountants anymore? What's happening?
Well, first off, I mean, Intuit is a good indicator of certain things, but around this time of year, Intuit is laying off a bunch of people. They hire a lot of seasonal people. So I wouldn't read too much into that data as an indicator of any changes to the industry as of yet. I would say that the industry is somewhat being disrupted, especially when it comes to data entry or more commoditized things like bookkeeping, maybe simple tax filing, payroll administration. Those things are starting to be disrupted because they can be automated and systematized with AI today. And so you're seeing that maybe there are more jobs at risk than ever before. But I don't actually see it in that context. I actually see it as a great opportunity for tax professionals to step up their game and to start going deeper with their clients. So even though we probably will see some accountants or maybe tax professionals step away from the industry in the next few years, I think that they did that by choice. I don't think it's because the industry is contracting. I mean, taxes are not going away. Finances will never change, right? Like you still have to file a return. You still have to, submit your bank statements. You still have to do all this stuff. So I don't necessarily believe AI is going to disrupt us as big as people think. I think it's going to disrupt the right people, the people who don't want to change.
And that's a fair point. And if I just look at the Bureau of Labor Statistics, it's actually reflecting accountants and auditor roles to grow 5% over the next 8 years, whereas bookkeepers are projected to drop over 6%. over the next 8 years.
I would agree. And I would hope that the bookkeepers ascend themselves into a deeper role with their clients rather than be rerun over by AI, right? Like that would be my ideal situation. But again, that's individually. But yeah, the stats probably do show that bookkeepers are going to disappear.
So how does that look for a business owner when I'm looking for an accountant? I just think that a lot of you're kind of like, oh, he's always been my accountant. Right? He's always billed me the same. He's never done me wrong. But in an AI world, I feel like everyone needs to adjust and adapt. What should we be looking for in an accountant in 2026 and 27?
I mean, I think it's relational, right? I think this is the most important thing. Like, there's two different factors I think we should consider on the changes that are happening. There's AI, artificial intelligence, and HI, human intelligence. And a lot of us are discrediting that. Like, I love the relationships that I have with the professionals in my life, right? My doctor, I love the relationship, even though I'm pretty confident that there's going to be some AI technology that can probably scan my blood and give me parameters and maybe do some diagnosis in the future. Do I want that, or do I really want to talk to my doctor, right? Like, do I still want to have a connection with that person who has known me for years, who understands where I want to go, my ambitions, knows my family, understands the goals that I have? AI cannot do that. And so I think that if we think about it in this context, then I think the future looks bright for the right people. And I think if you're looking for the next person in your life, or maybe the person you're currently working with in the accounting function of your business or tax function of your business, I think it's very important that you find somebody that you want to have a relationship with, not a transaction. So we call it transformational versus transactional.
And I agree with that. The relationships matter a lot. But at the same time, I don't want to be billed for small questions. I don't want to, send my accountant an email and he sends me $1,000 bill at the end of the month, right? So, like, is there a balance between where I should be using AI, the tools and resources that my accountant should have in place?
Oh man, you're sounding like my attorney. The guy, I get a $300 bill for an email he sent me, and I'm like, UMF, PSOS, and anyways. The thing that actually needs to change in the accounting industry, which is I'm an advocate for, by the way, in our communities that we serve, we advocate for what we call value-based pricing. Meaning it's not necessarily about the workload, it's about the results that we can produce for our clients. And such that if there's 20 emails or one email, it doesn't really matter to us. And that's how we operate. We don't bill you based on the number of minutes or hours that we serve you. It's about the impact that we get you, right? Can we reconcile books in a timely manner? Can we get you tax savings in excess of maybe, the percentage that we were targeting, 50%, 60% of your prior liability? And that gives you fixed pricing is what I'm saying. That needs to be the model moving forward for accountants. They cannot survive on this hourly minute billing system anymore. I believe that's a dying model that needs to be put out to the back and shot, because nobody likes it, nobody cares for it, and I think the future is value-based pricing.
And I agree with that there too, especially in an AI world where billing for like the things that used to take you an hour now take 2 minutes.
I agree. And by the way, that's it's not just because of technology, but that's a huge part of it. I think it's just more so that, we want results as just buyers today don't buy things for the sake of needing them. They want it and they want a result. And to me, I think that AI makes things easier. And that's why adopting it as a firm is more important than ever. And in adopting it in the right way to make you more efficient so you can get bigger results to your client.
Yeah, I agree with that. Listen, I want to talk about taxmaverick.ai, which is more aimed towards accountants in general. But I think that some of the concepts that you're deploying here are applicable to every industry. So I want to share the screen here where you show the various blocks that business owners run into at different stages of their business, right? And so if you're under 100K, you're going to have different challenges than the business owner who's at 500K, for example. And you show on here that most firms are stuck between this 200K to 600K revenue, right?
Yep.
And then you note here that the wall is consistency. How is AI going to help accountants and business owners in general get past this growth wall? Or is AI the answer to getting past this stage?
What's interesting is that even though this is applicable to tax firms, this is just applicable across all business models, right? This actually falls within all guardrails of that. Efficiencies is really where it becomes a challenge. The delivery mechanism to give a client a result becomes more challenging between 200 and 600,000 just because you don't have the team or the infrastructure. So technology should be heavily weighed on, or dependent on, and this is AI. This is where automation of communication becomes very important. This is where reviewing of communications that needs to be done. This is where we document things through AI for task follow-ups that just need to be, systematized. Yeah, AI is a huge role in this part. And we operate within a formula that most businesses will operate between 100 and the goal should be 200,000 or above per employee, any business. But if you can, if you can move that incrementally to 300,000 because you can efficiently manage more client interactions and more client deliverables with automated systems with AI, then you become a more efficient business. And to be quite honest with you, depending on the type of clients that you serve, and especially in the accounting industry, if their revenue is over 1 million or 2 or 3 million or whatever the number is, there's certain clients that don't require much work anymore because they have their own internal teams, or maybe they already have a bookkeeper, or maybe they're so simple that it doesn't even require much work. AI can do all of it for you. So it just depends on where they are in the spectrum. But I think AI solves this problem significantly.
One of the things that's also started to happen here, and I think a lot of business owners are not aware of this, is that AI agents are starting to make their way into organizational charts of companies. It's it's no longer Debbie from accounting, it's Sam from OpenAI. And I find this to be very interesting, and because one of the most common complaints I think that people have when it comes to AI is it's unpredictable, it hallucinates, it doesn't give me a predictable result, but a human does. To which point I kind of blink twice and say, so you're telling me that your humans are not making mistakes? Because I found that that's actually not the case. AI makes mistakes, but so do humans as well. So does this just come down to the proper SOPs and training? What am I off base here, David?
Not at all. In fact, it's interesting because a lot of the challenges is still people, but then you get into AI deep enough and you realize AI is a problem, right? I use AI for a lot of things every day in our organization, and I find myself double checking things and reviewing things. We have some dashboards in our company that we generate through AI, and just 2 days ago, I'm looking at the dashboard. I look at a number and I'm like, that does not make any sense. Like that just doesn't make sense. And so we scrutinized what the data came from, the data set, and it was all right. So just AI got it wrong. So I don't think that you can discriminate and say, well, hey, people make mistakes, that's why we should use AI, or vice versa. I think that's why I think it's HI and AI combined, right? Like there's just things that we know intuitively that AI does not know yet. And, who knows, maybe they will at some point, but just doesn't know yet. Just can't get.
Yeah, Steve Wozniak, one of the co-founders of Apple, recently had a speech at a commencement speech at a major university. And he said that it's actual, you have AI, you have actual intelligence. And I thought
I saw that.
That was kind of an interesting dichotomy. And, again, along this, because one of the things I think that, and I've seen this a lot in the marketing world, people run meta ads for a week and say, oh, it didn't work. Meta ads don't work. Right. And I think that it's easy to fall into that kind of mindset when it comes to AI. I tried AI for a week. It got it wrong. So I'm just going to scrap it. And I got to say, the amount of people that think that AI is fake, or it's smoke and mirrors, or it's just a bunch of hype it's actually shocking to me.
Oh, man. What's interesting is that I now, so I was a big ChatGPT guy for a long time. Obviously, it was the first to the market. And then I got into Gemini pretty heavy. And then I kind of got back into ChatGPT. And then I went into Claude recently. Over the last few months, it's been Claude. And now I'm like, man, ChatGPT. So now I check my work from Claude with ChatGPT. Like I feel like I have two different people like giving me advice, and I try to see which one can like give me better advice, or maybe give me like, tell me if this makes sense, and then like help me review it. And then sometimes I take work from ChatGPT and take it to Claude because it's better at creatives. And I think that I think if I was a normal person who's never been into this world like as much as I had to be, and of course yourself, I can see why they don't believe that things are right or how hard or complex it is, because it's a lot of work to do this stuff. But once you get it right, or once you understand it, man, it unlocks productivity like nothing else I've ever seen. It's crazy.
It really does. The first time that I opened up Claude Cowork and I just asked it to perform a task on my computer, with something like edit or audit my website blogs, it came back with a bunch of different action steps. I said, can you do this for me? It's like, sure thing. Takes over control and started SEO optimizing dozens of blogs for a client site. It was unbelievable. It was unbelievable.
That's amazing. I mean, the problem I think with AI today, just from my perspective, is just like, which one is it that you're supposed to use, right? And Everybody, that's the only thing I think that we have oversaturated our minds with different knowledge bases, and now we are, what tool is the best, which is the newest tool, which one's going to work for this, and that just becomes a whole, man, you actually have to be in the game every day to really play that. It's like real estate or any other thing, right? You just have to be in the game, and I think that's the next challenge. It's like somebody has to be a source of truth for people. And I think that's why there's a lot of AI experts today that are, hey, you should use this AI for this, and this AI for this, and this AI for this. And I think that's just the most overwhelming part for me.
Well, yeah, it's taking it step by step and having a framework, and this kind of goes back to my point about employees versus AI and their similarities and differences, because if you don't have the proper, using AI actually, I think, forces you to create standard operating procedures that you might not necessarily have thought out. And that could be that problem to getting past that growth wall of your business, right? You need to have the proper context. You need to have the proper SOPs. You need to have the proper prompt. Then you need to execute. And then you need to have a flywheel where you can assess and continue to iterate from that point.
I saw something recently. I don't remember the name of the tool, but there was this. I mean, it was a little more complex because I'm not a tech guy, but it was like a platform where you could create a whole virtual company. You probably heard of this, and it's like you connect it with your Supabase, and then you connect it with one of your AIs, and then you can actually train like this organizational chart of people, and they all collaborate to actually run a company. Have you seen that?
I mean, it sounds similar to a Replit, but that's a little bit more robust. So I'm not sure the exact software, but it's interesting.
It was really cool. Like you could have a CEO and then train it specific roles, and then you can have a CMO and a CFO, and you can actually build out your whole organizational chart, and they actually do work together collaboratively. It was so cool. I saw a video on this and I was like, man, I want to do this because there are certain roles in our company, but then I just, again, it takes time, and that's the only problem, right? Like, and I think that there's this new, if I was giving advice to anybody in the world right now, I think there's this new integrator of AI role for every company. Every company needs some sort of integrator of AI. I think it's just something that is such a demand that the person who does that, or the people who take that as their responsibility, are going to excel significantly in any organization today.
100%. It's mandatory. And I think I can reinforce that with some statistics here, because
go for it.
This year, 17% of layoffs have been directly attributed to AI. That's up from 5% in 2025. That's up from 2.5% in 2024. So we're seeing a lot of layoffs related to AI. Again, 17% so far this year. Here's actually another question for you. We've seen 17% of layoffs this year attributed to AI. Are there going to be tax ramifications for companies that do layoffs related to AI?
I don't think so. I mean, they're going to pay less payroll tax. Obviously, they're going to have more margin. So there's going to be I hope if they don't allocate those funds to some other department or some other investment or some other, or anything, if they don't allocate the funds, then they become more profitable. So they're going to have a higher or larger tax bill, at least estimated at this point. I don't know that to be fact, but that sounds like that's what's going to happen.
The thing that I think about, though, is there's so much angst and anger and concern over AI. I mean, we just saw this at UCF this past week. The valedictorian was giving a speech about how AI was the future, and everyone started booing her.
I saw that too.
Like, where are we headed with this thing? Because we have an extremely large amount of people that are completely anti-AI, wealth disparity, all this stuff is happening. So how do we go into the next AI revolution? I know I'm getting a little bit off the topic of taxes here, but I think, I see this, one of these ideas is, well, we will have heavy tax upon AI usage, robot usage, and then distribute that down in some sort of UBI. Is that even realistic?
I mean, no, because I mean, we're founded on capitalism. That's just the way of the game, right? Like we're not going to change the model of our country just because people don't want to advance their skill set. Like every generation has been a generation of man plus tool, right? A caveman found rock then became sharpened becomes, and like, this is just the advancement of a tool. And then until the tool can use us, right, which we're not there yet, we are supposed to advance our skill sets to maximize tools. And that's what we're supposed to do. And if you don't want to take on that responsibility as an individual, I mean, that's the tax you pay, which is probably not having a job, probably not moving up in society, maybe being left behind. And unfortunately, a lot of people are too naive to take action right now. And I think it's fear. I think it's naiveness. I think it's a lack of personal responsibility. I think it's comfortability. There's so many words to describe why people won't adopt or adapt. But ultimately, I don't think it's going to change anything for companies. They're going to do business as usual.
Yeah. Well, and I do also think that whenever a new technology comes out and we see displacement and disruption, people get scared and say there'll be no jobs. But when I look historically, what ends up happening is new technology just creates a lot of new jobs, a lot of different jobs. And to your point, upscale. And I think that, when you look at a blue ocean, if you're a bookkeeper now, well, maybe you can be an AI bookkeeping implementer. And then you could go down even further for insurance companies or for HVAC companies or for and so on and so forth. And I think that there's going to be tremendous opportunity for the people that are adapting and trying new things. It's just kind of hard to predict what that's going to look like.
I mean, we can make some assumptions that I think are very fair, which is we know that AI is not going away, and we know that it's not a tool. It's actually not even I can't even say that it's a nice to have. It's a must have if you're going to do anything anymore. I mean, I think the trades probably survive pretty easy, plumbers, HVAC guys and things, but their administrative stuff, like you mentioned, the bookkeeping, the HR functions, those things are AI'd. And I think based on what you just said, I think it was a great idea. Like if you're somebody who's in bookkeeping right now, or you own a bookkeeping business, focusing on how to help that business owner implement the AI strategy to get bookkeeping functions in their business automated, man, what a golden opportunity. And you probably could charge the exact same amount of money that you're charging right now to do their books just to maintain the AI stuff. They would, because it's going to change, right? So it's like you don't even lose money. You just do a different thing. That's it. It's crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. And well, there's a big difference there. And I think people get this confused a little bit. So there's two ways to be replaced by AI. One way is you work at Meta and Meta starts tracking all your mouse clicks. And they're like, well, we don't need you anymore. Thanks for the data. You don't want to be that kind of replaced. You want to be the kind of replaced, like you said, I will help replace myself within your ecosystem by leveraging AI and the scale of AI. Because if you can replace what you're doing with AI now and do it well, that's where the scale, that's where the consistency, and that's where the scale comes into play.
Man, I mean, really, I already had thought that through many times over, but what you just said, it's just so nice to hear. Like, it is really the truth. You should just skill up to move whatever you can AI your job away. I mean, I think that's the whole goal before AI. If you think about it, if everybody who's in the workforce today just always thought, how do I get somebody to replace me? You automatically move up in the world. Like should be your job. Like, if I'm the CEO of my company right now, if I want to get out of this role, I have to find somebody to replace me. I shouldn't be afraid of that. That's actually that's the evolution. The ascension for me is to go to, board of directors, to investor, not, oh, this guy wants my job. No, you need to take my job because I need to go up. Right. And AI is going to help you go up. It's the same concept.
Yeah, I love that. David, I really appreciate your time. Before I let you go, I do have one more question. AI is absolutely impacting accounting. If I'm a business owner, what is the biggest mistake I can make leveraging AI for my accounting and bookkeeping?
Well, I would say that the biggest mistake is assuming that you don't need a professional to help you. Because a bookkeeper does more than just reconcile bank statements into transactions in QuickBooks. That's not necessarily their only functionality. A good bookkeeper is also going to help you decipher the reporting metrics that come from that. As an example, if you're an HVAC company and you want a metric, let's say for an example, how much it costs to acquire a customer based on marketing, or if you want to know the lifetime value of a customer, or you want to know comparability if I'm doing good based on industry standards. Now, you can definitely find those things with AI. I'm not discrediting it. I just would say that AI is not going to know to give you that data without having prior knowledge of like, this is what you need to know. So a good bookkeeper is more of a resource today than ever before because they can help you give the data that makes you make better decisions in your business. And so you should use AI and you should be looking to it, but a bookkeeper still serves a huge purpose in a business, always does. And as well as tax. I mean, tax saving strategies aren't going to change. People don't want to pay taxes. As much as I would love for everybody to say it's easy to pay them, nobody wants to do it. So we might as well find ways to avoid it. And working with a tax strategist like myself, that's the goal. Like we use AI in our company to identify strategies, but we still have to execute them. We still have to explain them to you. We still have to sit down and get them across the finish line. And AI can't do that.
Right. Well, and you need you need an expert to tell you when something is wrong because you don't want to. It can be very, very wrong. It just strikes me we're in this place where having a lot of, in this AI world, you've got this quote PhD in your pocket, but you need to have enough general intelligence across the board to be able to sniff out when something doesn't smell right and then escalate that up to the expert in that field.
I think it's like the concept of garbage in, garbage out. If you don't know how to put the right data into AI, you're always going to get a bad answer. Right. And so I think that's probably the one thing that I think people misunderstand. It's like, oh, AI should assume and know all these things. It doesn't know what it's missing. I mean, if you have 5 bank accounts and you only give it 4, it never knew you had 5. It never knew. But your bookkeeper would know, right? Because they've worked with you for years. They understand these things. Like there's just data that it can't know everything. It just can't. And unfortunately, that's the big gap. Now, will there be a day where it could scan all your transactions and figure it? Oh, I'm pretty sure of that, right? But we're not there yet. And so there's still a very big investment that you should make in tax professionals today.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we've been speaking with the man, the myth, the legend, David Perez, founder of TaxMaverick.ai and TaxPlanExperts.com. David, thank you. Also, by the way, great YouTube channel, pumping out high quality, very valuable
thank you
content on a regular basis. So David, thank you for joining the channel here today.
Thank you.